Allianz think about the future of education insurance in Indonesia? What are the pros and cons?
Well, we had a recent study with customers. We run some focus groups in order to identify what are the most eminent needs in our Sharia community. Hence, we just recently spun off our Sharia business. And now that we have an individual entity, we want also to see if there are other opportunities to develop into. So here we went out and did these focus groups. And interestingly, one of the top 3 needs and priorities in the communities was clearly education. This is probably also coming from the fact that the cost inflation of education is quite high, is way above the regular inflation. So we have seen over the recent years secondary or higher education enrollment fees to increase by 10 to 15%, so clearly above the regular inflation rate. So that requires the individual to plan early to make sure that you can offer the best possible education to your beloved children. And so here I think it's an interesting segment, but I'm also aware that basically there has been some issues in the past with typical education plans. We have seen that in many countries in Asia where there is less confidence in the population in those plans. And here we need to see how we can address it. For us, I think in that segment, I would see clearly a certain accumulation phase where you start early savings. For example, when you have a firstborn child, you start saving up for the future education, but then ensuring when the education happens, and the education is a long-term project as well, this is secured via protection elements that if something uncertain happens, the education of your child is fully insured until the very end.
As you mentioned, we saw that education insurance was a star many years ago. And to start it again, what are the opportunities and what the industry needs to start?
I have no specific answer for that. As I said, it's early. We are doing currently more the studies on understanding the real need so that we can actually design a proposition around it which makes sense for the customer and at the same time is affordable. Secondly, besides just having a solution, the key question is also how do we bring this to the customer? This might not be via the typical channels we have seen in the past. Maybe this requires a different way and potentially partnerships, for example, with education institutions to help us preparing for future education of children. So I see the opportunity. I don't have the exact answer, what is the perfect solution, but we, as usual, will try and test and then hopefully pivot to something which makes sense and gives customer a good solution to the respective need.
What kind of collaboration, maybe from regulation perspective, that could be a booster for these education products?
Well, I think in general, as I said earlier, any kind of stimulus from government is appreciated. So coming back to the fact education is important for the country, for the future of the country, giving parents, for example, possible tax break on educational plans would be something which definitely would be effective, or at least has been proven to be effective in many other countries before. So that could be one solution, but I guess there are other ways to do that as well.
Okay, then we move to health insurance. We heard there's a potential collaboration between BPJS Kesehatan and also private sector from health insurance. Yeah. How do you see it?
Well, I think there's an absolute need for private insurance, and I think as the Ministry of Health clearly also states, it doesn't have the capacity to really run a full-fledged social security system which can cover you holistically for your health. And this is a very common problem in any other country. I hardly know countries which can manage. I know countries which have social security, which claim to give you holistic coverage, but the government is bleeding and cannot afford it anymore. So on other ways, Western markets see demographic challenges. We have, for example, where I come from in Germany, a very aging population. So we basically don't have the young people contributing to the social security anymore, and then it becomes inviable to finally finance these plans. On the other side, here in Southeast Asia, or particularly in Indonesia, you see a very, very large population, but then you see also a big disparity in income. Again, very challenging to create a financing vehicle to cater for all that. And on top of everything, I mean, Indonesia is an archipelago. It's not easy logistically to manage. The supply to the hospitals, having the right doctors there, and matching all this in short term. So this is a very long-term process and very difficult to finance. So as such, I do believe that health insurance is an absolute necessity on the private sector to consider. Now, the question again comes back to affordability. So what I see there is a necessity that health insurance, for example, is not a luxury product. It must be a common product for everyone, and it must be more customizable for the respective need and affordability of the individual.
So do you think the industry itself is ready?
I think the industry is preparing for it and stepping forward to that. I mean, we just came out of, let's say, a bit of a health crisis. I mean, we had the pandemic. We have seen after the pandemic severe consequences for the insurance industry in terms of claims and medical inflation, which were not as such foreseen before the pandemic, and require us to reprice our products in an extraordinary way. And secondly, the market was not used to regular repricing of health products, nor was it used to this above average health medical inflation. So we are seeing rates here which are double of the global average, and this we have to cope with. So we are coming just out of this, and I'm thinking we are getting there, and also with the help of the OJK and the regulation, which is in preparation. I think we are looking at securing a wider health ecosystem which is sustainable and can allow us basically to eventually thrive and go out and cater to all segments and provide the right solutions.
What do you think needs to be improved by the industry to prepare for the collaboration? Do you think transparency from medical industry is also very needed?
Yeah, I think it's transparency clearly is always a topic where insurance has to work on. We are complex products, especially when we talk about traditional products. They are not very transparent for laymen. There's a lot of actual work behind, a lot of statistics behind, so it's not easy to understand. And it's also always a collective, whereas you as an individual, you're more concerned about yourself than the collective. But we as an insurer, we are concerned about the collective to remain viable. So I think what we have to learn is we really have to, first of all, price right, and also get the customer acceptance that these type of benefits in a transparent manner have these type of prices. And again, I think we need to get to a point that one-fits-all solution is not the right thing to do. As such, you would have seen already the recent products would have been multiple plan variances. You would have certain options you can consider as a customer to actually play around with the premium levels and make sure that what you can afford, you get the right coverage for, and in a fair, transparent manner.